When Forsyth Technical opened 50 years ago, it was known as Forsyth County Industrial Education Center, right? That's a mouthful. Machine shops and automotive mechanics were some of the first classes you could take. Of course, back then you didn't even need a degree to earn a decent living. You could get a job at the local tobacco or textile plant and still be able to provide for yourself and your family. That world has changed. In the last few decades, revolutions in communications, revolutions in technology have made businesses mobile and has made commerce global. So today a company can set up shop, hire workers, and sell their products wherever there is an internet connection. That's a transformation that's touched off a fierce competition among nations for the jobs and industries of the future. And at this moment, the most important contest we face is not between Democrats and Republicans. It's between America and our economic competitors all around the world. That's the competition we've got to spend time thinking about. Now, I have no doubt we can win this competition. We are the home of the world's best universities, the best research facilities, the most brilliant scientists, the brightest minds, some of the hardest working, most entrepreneurial people on earth, right here in America. There's no doubt that we are well equipped to win. But as it stands right now, the hard truth is this. In the race for the future, America is in danger of falling behind. When global firms were asked a few years back where they planned on building new research and development facilities, nearly 80% said either China or India. Because those countries are focused on math and science, and they're focused on training and educating their workforce. In 1957, just before this college opened, the Soviet Union beat us into space by launching a satellite known as Sputnik. And that was a wake-up call that caused the United States to boost our investment in innovation and education, particularly in math and science. And as a result, once we put our minds to it, once we got focused, once we got unified, not only did we surpass the Soviets, we developed new American technologies, industries, and jobs. So 50 years later, our generation's Sputnik moment is back. This is our moment. If the recession has taught us anything, it's that we cannot go back to an economy that's driven by too much spending, too much borrowing, running up credit cards, taking out a lot of home equity loans, paper profits that are built on financial speculation. We've got to rebuild on a new and stronger foundation for economic growth. We need to do what America has always been known for: building, innovating, educating, making things. We don't want to be a nation that simply buys and consumes products from other countries. We want to create and sell products all over the world that are stamped with 3 simple words: Made in America. That's our goal. So I came to Forsyth today because you've shown what this future can look like. To invest in the basic research and development that helped jumpstart North Carolina's biotech industry. To invest in new buildings and laboratories and research facilities that make your work possible. These are the kinds of investments we need to keep making in communities across America. Investments that will grow our economy and help us to stay competitive in the 21st century. Now, I want to emphasize, I say this knowing full well we face a very difficult fiscal situation. I mean, I'm looking at the books back in Washington, and folks weren't doing a real good job with their math for the last decade. So So now that the threat of a depression has passed and a recovery is beginning to take hold, reducing our long-term deficit has to be a priority. And in the long run, we won't be able to compete with countries like China if we keep borrowing from countries like China. We won't be able to do it. There's going to be a debate in Washington over the next year and over the next couple of years and maybe over the next 5 years. Because I will argue and insist that we cannot cut back on those investments that have the biggest impact on our economic growth. Because I was talking with President Green, and he said much of the equipment here would not be here if it hadn't been for the assistance of the Recovery Act, the assistance of the Department of Labor. All this stuff that we've done over the last couple of years that people were questioning, you can see it translated in the classrooms right here. The work that we're doing on student loans and Pell Grants, you can see it in the students who are able to finance their retraining right here. So we can't stop making those investments. The best antidote to a growing deficit, by the way, is a growing economy. To borrow an analogy, cutting the deficit by cutting investments in areas like education, areas like innovation, that's like trying to reduce the weight of an overloaded aircraft by removing the engine. It's not a good idea. There may be some things you need to get rid of, but you got to keep the engine.